Hey guys, Blackjack here with Guns, Guns, and More Guns, and I guess a welcome back is kind of in order. I know it's been quite some time since we've posted our last video, and I really don't want to get into why that is here. It's more, you know, around this time last year, there were some political events, some things that were unfolding. YouTube had really cracked down on channels such as ourselves, such as view counts and kind of limiting our exposure. We'd kind of honestly debated whether or not we wanted to keep doing this, but you know, it's a lot of fun. It's a hobby for both Kruger and I, and so you know, when I had an opportunity to get my hands on one of these, I was like, man, this is going to make a really cool video. So what we have here, if you couldn't already tell by the video description, is a Kel Tec KS7. And so what is a Kel Tec KS7? A Kel Tec KS7 is essentially a Kel Tec KSG. However, one of the most notable differences is that it's not as wide as a Louisville Slugger all the way through. It is essentially a 7-shot KSG, so it is a bullpup shotgun. You know, it is very, very, very new. There are not a lot of these that, you know, you could really find out in the wild right now. I wanted to give a special shout out to John over at JRK Enterprises. If you are in kind of like the Fox Valley, maybe Elgin, Carpentersville, Algonquin kind of area of northern Illinois, check out John. Man, that guy can get his hands on just about anything, as is evident that he got a channel, a small channel like ourselves, you know, something like this, which these are really hard to come by. I know his phone's been blowing up, and, you know, I just wanted to thank John for making sure this ended up in my hands instead of someone else. So, but with that being said, you know, I'd like to talk a little bit about the gun. I did some shooting with this today. Unfortunately, Kruger wasn't able to make it out, but I don't think he's going to be too upset with himself when he sees how this thing performed. I'd like to kind of start a little bit about talking about maybe some of my dislikes with the gun. Then I'm going to talk about some of the things I really like about the gun. Then we're going to get into some range footage and kind of do a little wrap up. I will be doing a disassembly video on this as a separate video. So, you know, this being a new gun, obviously when people are looking at this or when they're buying it, they're going to be looking to disassemble it. I haven't cleaned it yet since it was on the range, so I'd like to clean it and then do a disassembly video, but that's just me. But getting right into it, some of my dislikes. When you pick this thing up, it feels like a toy. It weighs almost nothing. I mean, it really, really, really is just this impossibly small little gun. Weighs next to nothing. You know, and in some ways it does feel like a toy, I gotta be honest. As part of the pump here, the foreend, the foregrip, however you refer to it, this piece here is all plastic. And it does have a sort of, you know, kind of chintzier feel to it. I mean, it still sounds like a shotgun, which is nice. But again, maybe I'm splitting hairs here. I just feel like if you really grab this thing, I mean, how much really kind of hardcore abuse is this going to take? Being a piece of plastic, I don't know. Again, it's very light. It is impossibly small. I mean, this thing is so small. The first time I picked it up, I was just like, man, it kind of feels like a toy. So realistically, I mean, that's about like aesthetically where my personal dislikes ends. Now let's talk about some of the things that I like, because there are so many more things about this gun that I like rather than things that I don't like. One, this looks like something that should be in like the freaking Aliens movie, or like Halo, or like a freaking plasma gun or something. I mean, it looks fucking awesome. Freaking awesome. Sorry about the language. It looks really cool. You know, obviously I'm excited about the gun. It has a very, very cool look to it. I guess I'm sort of a basic bro when it comes to firearms, because I really, really am sold easily on aesthetics. And this gun, it checks all the boxes for me. I mean, it really looks like something out of a sci-fi movie, which, you know, at heart, I guess I'm a little bit of a nerd, but also the fact that it's small. I know I just complained about how small it is a negative, but you know, its compactness really does do it some justice. And the fact that it's a bullpup, I mean, everything is back here, right? So like everything that's you know, all the nuts and bolts are going to be back here, right? So you still have an 18-inch barrel on just this tiny compact little thing, which is really great in my opinion. I love seeing that. Again, it does make for a very short length of pull, but once you kind of get past that, you know, it's really, I guess it's not that bad. So aesthetically, obviously very pleasing. Also, what I really like about it is this rail here, is you could probably see, there's a screw here, and I'll get a good shot of that. It's removable. So we can take this off, and we can put a rail on it just like we would with a KSG, but also, this here I thought was pretty cool. So you have this rail here, kind of, that runs on the top of this neat looking piece of plastic. That also has this sight up front. So that's kind of nice that they put that there. It really is very intuitive when you pick it up and when you shoot it. I thought it was really nice to shoot, with the exception of certain types of loads that we ran through it today. Now I have here, as you can see, the 4 types of shot that we had put through it today, the four types of shells, I should say, that we put through it. And, you know, we had some of the Olin, you know, just 5 rounds, 5 shells per box, kind of military 9 pellet buck. I'm sure you've seen this stuff pretty much at every local gun store. The Nobel, I ain't trying to get all fancy with it. It's 12 pellet buck, Fiocchi nickel plated, low recoil buckshot, which is also 9 pellet buck. And then these CCI mini shells, which I have a new real love for. So what I'd like to do now, I'm going to work on getting us kind of cut into the screen here in a second. You know, I did shoot this thing quite a bit. You know, it's a fun gun to shoot. And you know, as I pull up the range footage here, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So obviously, as I had said, we started with, you know, the 3 rounds of the Olin 9 pellet buckshot. This stuff, it had a little bit of a stank to it. I mean, it had a little bit of a kick to it. It wasn't, you know, without, I guess, could definitely feel that you were firing. You could see as a pattern here, I'd actually put together a pretty decent pattern. And I'm going to kind of fast forward some of my reloading. One of the things that you'll kind of pick up is I kind of go through this, and the reason I fast forwarded a lot of the reloading is mostly because, you know, it was really awkward, I guess you could say, to kind of figure out how I was going to reload this thing. So kind of once I got it loaded up, I'm like, okay, let's get some more rounds downrange. Let's see what it does. You can see I'm kind of fumbling with the box there. You'll see, you know, because the gun is kind of so small, you see how kind of tight I got to get on it. I don't have real long arms and legs, right? I'm like a dwarf class human, right? And you can see I kind of maybe short stroked it there. Maybe like it failed to feed or whatever. But yeah, you could definitely see it's got some kick to it. It's got, you know, a little bit of a muzzle flash to it, but it's not obnoxious. It wasn't, at this point, I was okay. I probably could have shot, you know, several boxes through it. But as I'm pulling the target back, I'm kind of just saying, you know, yeah, I don't know if I short stroked it or what. Interestingly enough, here, when you look at the pattern, you could kind of see that's actually really, this is, again, this is probably the second favorite that I shot through this gun. It looks like a wad, actually. Now, we're shooting at 25 yards, I should say. So we're not, I mean, we're fairly out there for terms of a shotgun. It actually looks like one of these wads went through the neck of the target, which is kind of cool. But good group, good pattern. I mean, I would definitely carry this stuff in this gun 7+1 all day long. I'd feel like I had a nice little, or a nice armament there. So from here, we moved on to something that was a little bit different, and I know I'm showing you the Fiocchi box, but that's not what we did next. Next, we did this stuff here, and holy smokes, let me tell you something about this stuff. Well, I'll let you decide for yourself. So this is the Noble, whatever it is. I'm going to send 3 shots down range here, and you're going to tell immediately. Big freaking difference between that and the last one. And I don't know if I short stroked it there. But holy smokes, I mean, literally holy smokes. I mean, that thing is just, I was basking in the fumes, and that sucks. It really, that was just, like getting kicked by a freaking donkey, right? And interestingly enough, you know, I mean, when I pulled the target back and I look at how it patterned, I wasn't really super thrilled with how this stuff did. You know, compared to how badly it beat me, I was like, okay, you know, the other stuff did better, and it, you know, was certainly not fatigue you. you know, if you were shooting it, you know, for an extended period of time. So here I am again. I'm going to kind of try to load some more rounds in here. I did 8 rounds total, so I did 3 to pattern, 5 in the gun. You know, just because that's like that's essentially a full load, right? Because you have 7 plus 1 because it holds 7. You know, and here I go again with this stuff, and Lord help me, here I go, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, I just got to get this over with, and yep, and I'm shaking my head. I know I'm in for it. I'm like, man, this is bad, and here we go. So there it is. There's one, and there's, I don't know if I short stroked that one again. You know, I don't know if it's some user errors. And here is an interesting problem that I had, and we're going to talk a little bit about this after we do the range footage. Take a look at that. So obviously, you know, it's a pretty serious malfunction to have. That malfunction in a home defense type of setting would cost you your life. So I fumbled with it for a little while. I figured out, you know what? If I could stick the shell back in there and get it back into the barrel, into the breech, I could just close the action, and it should, you know, kind of go back to how it should be, or, you know, kind of rechamber it there. That's what I ended up doing. I did cycle around out of it, though, when I did that, so I didn't realize that I was essentially ejecting that down. But there I go. There were some expletives right there. And as I pull it back, you know, I was checking my finger because, you know, it was beating the hell out of my hand. You really have to hold on to that. And, you know, when you look at the pattern, I look at that pattern compared to the last one that I had, and I don't really see anything better. There are maybe some more center mass shots, but I don't feel like that pattern's any better than what I just shot. And considering that these rounds just kicked the freaking snot out of me, I was like, yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily, I don't have anything bad to say about these shells. It's maybe not out of this gun, because once again, the gun it weighs like next to nothing. So I get the target in my face there, and I figure, okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna speed this bad boy up, and we're gonna kind of move on to our next, you know, our next shot selection here, which is that Fiocchi nickel-plated buckshot. I actually really like this stuff. It's pretty easy to shoot. I like it a lot better than the Nobel stuff, that's for damn sure. But really, from a shootability standpoint, it's so much easier to shoot. Now, this is 9 pellets. Obviously, I was just shooting 12 pellets, which is a huge, trust me, I get it. There's a big difference. But maybe the key to the sub 2000 KS7 is to stick with, you know, 9 pellet and below buck. As you can see here, the pattern, again, I am okay with that pattern that we're seeing, just based on the fact that it didn't kick the shit out of me. Now, we did have an issue with our camera, so we're jumping right into the mini shells here. Now, these, I was pretty surprised by. These are obviously the Aguila mini shells. I'm sure a lot of people have seen them. By this time, you know, I already fired 24 rounds through the gun, and, you know, 16 of them were the sort of full power. And these felt like a 22. I felt like I was shooting a 22 out of it. You know, now the most surprising thing comes when the target comes back, and I go, holy smokes, that's actually a pretty decent pattern. Out of a 1 3/4 inch shell, it actually gave me a nice pattern on target. I mean, those were 3 shots that were relatively on target. You know, and I was pretty impressed with that. And I got to admit, compared to how badly this stuff kicked the crap out of me, how badly this, I mean, again, kicks pretty bad. This stuff here, I mean, it patterned better than the Fiocchi, in my opinion. However, it had almost none of the recoil, albeit it did have a little bit of an aroma to it. And I did actually make a comment on that this stuff does have kind of a funky smell. But one of the things that's really neat, and you can see me hurrying up and loading and loading and loading and loading. And again, you know, I mean, it's an awkward load. I mean, you could probably see there's like that little kind of like metal piece right there. You jam your thumb up on that pretty good when you're loading it. At least I did. You know, and so it did, you know, it is going to take some getting used to. But what I tried to do here, and I'm kind of showing you again, I'm shooting the mini shells. What I tried to do here is just cycle through them as quick as I could. And I mean, they were just so soft shooting at this point. But you can see where the smoke is kind of coming out by my shoulder, obviously, because that's where the shells are ejecting. And I think that's where I'm maybe picking up that maybe these have a bit of an odor to them, because that's kind of what I'm that's what I'm saying right now, is that, yeah, these have a little bit of an odor to them. It's not like the end of the world if your shotgun shells stink. But that's the pattern. The pattern on those 10 shots was like, holy smokes. That's pretty nice. Again, I obviously fired 3 more shells than all of the other guns, because, I had fired 3. Well, I guess I fired more than that. I fired 5 more. So I fired many more many more shells on target, but I was pretty impressed by that. I was pretty impressed by that because, yeah, I did have some flyers, as you just saw. I had some flyers. And now we're going to kind of be back on the main screen here. Yeah, I did have some flyers on the Aguila mini shells, but, and they weren't without issue. And we're going to talk about that here last before we wrap this one up. Out of all of these types, and I realized as I came home or actually as I got to the range, I didn't have critical defense buckshot with me. I really should have included that here because that's one of the more common rounds. I would say that the Nobel 12 pellet, take it completely off the table if you're looking at buying this gun. You're not going to want to shoot. Trust me, you don't want to do that. This stuff here would be a great kind of like, door kicker kind of option. Like, hey, man, if you really have to just get down and dirty, this stuff will definitely do it. The Fiocchi, the pattern's not the greatest, but, it still has 9 pellets. And, it's not going to beat you up as bad if you're shooting it all day. But really, the Aguila, now, off camera, and I probably really should have recorded this, but my cameraman, I had him fire all of these because I said, dude, you gotta take this thing for a ride, man. I mean, especially with these, I was like, you gotta give that a try. And he even said, he's someone that's been hunting for many years. He's also someone that has a lot of experience with just, big guns and big weapons. And even he said, he's like, oh, man, I think it just knocks the shit out of you with these rounds. Now, we had a similar malfunction where 2 of the mini shells, when we had the malfunction with this one, where the round was kind of sticking kind of out of like that, we had that malfunction with the mini shells where 2 of them actually, one of them I was able to get into the breech, and then one of them I had to slide back into the magazine tube. That's really important to keep in mind because a malfunction like that in a home defense gun can very easily cost you your life. And that's as plainly as I can put it. So with that being said, I don't know if maybe I have some training to do with this thing. Maybe I'm not racking enough. I mean, maybe I need to clean it. Again, I didn't clean it at all. And I own many shotguns, and sometimes you get some grease inside the springs on the, near the firing pin, and there's a lot of things, a lot of factors, right? So there's a reason you clean your gun when it's brand new. You kind of get some of that grease out of there. So hopefully some of these issues are resolved. Now, I did find that I had some light primer strikes. So that was with the really gnarly Nobel stuff. This was actually the round that had gotten, let me see, I've got a little bit too much light here, but this was actually the round that had gotten kind of caught up, and you could see how kind of chewed up it is, around the corners here, and you could see that the primer had been struck. So that was just straight up light primer strike. And then with the Fiocchi, you could also see where I had a light primer strike, and that was not recorded, unfortunately, but I did end up having to cycle the gun. I pumped it, fired, pumped it, this shell came out, and it was most definitely a light primer strike. So that's where I talk about maybe cleaning it will help with that. And if not, I mean, maybe it is a problem with the gun, and I'm not discounting that. I'm not discrediting that there could be a problem with the gun, and it may have to go back to Kel Tec. Remember, when, this is a brand-ass new gun, so, that means that it could have its problems. It may have to go back to the factory, so I hope it doesn't. I'm going to clean it and hopefully get more of an extended review The reason we had to shoot on the indoor range, for those of you that know and those of you that have supported, the channel and know us personally, everything else, we're in Northern Illinois, and the range we shoot at is 3 hours north, so it's even colder up there. So, I had to take this. I wanted to get out. I wanted to shoot it. I wanted to show you guys this gun and give you guys an idea of what it's like. I know that there's not a whole lot of really detailed reviews yet out there about this gun, and I was really excited to get it. I still am excited about it. I want to clean it up. I want to take it down, or I want to take it down and clean it up, I should say. And I want to take it back out and maybe put different types of shells through it and see if we get any different results, and maybe work the action a little bit differently and kind of really give it like a nuts and bolts kind of review more than just this sort of once over. But with that being said, it's good to be back, and I really do want to thank those who have supported our channel and, who continue to support us, and, everyone who has kind of, helped us out along the way. We have a really awesome local network here in Northern Illinois, and we have some really awesome friends of the channel, people that have been looking to help us out and have helped us out, and it's very much appreciated. And, with that being said, we look forward to seeing you guys on the range soon.